This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 568 for September 10th, 2018. Windows, dude.
Like, seriously, it's black magic.
Like Windows, dude.
But, yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Vampyr.
Hello.
Let's just dive right into it. What have you been playing this past week?
Okay, let's start with, as discussed on the pre-show, the 2018 Game of the Year list.
Okay.
Not for the reason you'd think. Let's talk about Far Cry 5.
Aha.
So,
I was wondering when you were going to get back to this, because I feel like you played it hot for like 2 weeks and then just dropped it.
That's pretty much exactly what happened. I jumped in, I was like, yes, it's more Far Cry. Yes, it kind of is very, very interesting, and it's got some points, and then I immediately fell off it. Mm-hmm. Like, really, really badly, to be honest. Like, the thing, it's difficult, like... It plays like a Far Cry game.
Right.
So if you like Far Cry gameplay, it's great.
If you love Ubisoft games, here's another one.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
And it is genuinely, it's the Destiny thing. It plays fantastically well.
Right.
There are things in that which like, it's incredible certain aspects of the game. I feel like it probably, from a gameplay-wise perspective, it plays as good, if not better, than 4 and 3.
Oh, wow, okay.
Perk system-wise, I don't agree with the new leveling system they've got. Like, I don't think that they did a good job with that, because it's essentially now a checklist of things to do to increase your perks.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Like, I feel like from a game design perspective, if you're designing Far Cry 5, you probably think, well, let's just do this, because then it encourages people to check out all the cool new stuff we've put in, and, you know, it instead of someone just killing bears in a circle for an hour, you know, they can do everything.
And on paper, it's a very good idea. In execution, it literally becomes okay, I've killed everybody, I've got all the perk points for killing people with assault rifles, so now I'm just going to use pistols for a while. Right. And there are very few pistols in Far Cry games that I think are worth a damn, so...
Right.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, then I guess I'm just going to do this as long as I possibly can. It will get brought up again in Game of the Year. I have been making notes in a more detailed fashion about it. There's not a lot I can say right now without being super duper spoilery.
Yeah, because you're sort of approaching, well, you're past the midpoint, right?
I beat the game. Story complete.
Oh, okay.
I literally, for some whatever reason, it was like, I think I fired it back up like Saturday night last week, so before last week's episode, but I didn't feel like I'd played enough of it to actually start talking about it on the show again.
Right.
At this point, I am story complete. I have done the 3 areas, I've done the final area, I've done the final mission, I've got the ending, I have feelings about that ending. I think Jess, my wife, played it and had her ending happen.
Okay.
I think her ending is a better ending than the ending I got.
Okay.
Because it throws a huge, like, bomb in the middle of, like, the final cutscene that you are in.
Oh, okay.
It just throws this huge, like, something happens that you know is going to affect what happens after the screen goes black.
Mm.
So it's. I think her ending is actually genuinely good. I went for the Truth, Justice, and the American Way ending.
Okay.
And I feel that is the least of the endings. My favorite ending is the one at the very beginning of the game that you can get within the first 4 seconds of firing the game up.
Ah, right.
So the Far Cry 4 Ubisoft ending, I think that is a very, very good ending.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But I mean, Far Cry 5, it plays like Far Cry if you like it, if you like that type of game, which I still do, and I do feel like they need to not put one of these out every year, because it feels like it's getting, or even every 2 years, they need to take a break. They need to, I think we discussed it, they need to Assassin's Creed Origins it.
Yeah.
Keep the gameplay the way it is and rethink everything else, because it's the same dog and bone that 4 was, which is the same dog and bone that 3 was.
Yeah, and Primal.
So, yeah, and Primal, which I own. I just never even started that.
Well, do they have 3 between Far Cry and... Oh, well, okay. So they do have 3 franchises I would think that would be tentpoles for Ubisoft. They have Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Watch Dogs. I really wish they would...
Let's also not forget about The Crew and The Division.
Sure, yeah, but The Division to me is more of a... It's like Rainbow Six Siege, where it's like, we're going to put the one out and we're going to support it for a very long time. I get the impression they're trying to do that with 2. But I'm thinking about more like the single-player, story-driven experiences. I would be okay with one of those games coming out every 3 years, where it's like, okay, this year's Far Cry, next
do the
year
rotation.
Yeah, like, I'd be okay with that, because after 3 years without a Watch Dogs game, for example, because I like both of the Watch Dogs games a lot. Maybe I won't say a lot for the first one. I liked the second one a lot.
The first one is very good. I have not played the second one yet.
Yeah, first one is solid. Second one is a legitimately very good game. I would be okay every 3 years knowing, all right, this year should probably be Watch Dogs year. Like that's the one I'm pretty excited about. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, to be honest, that wouldn't be a bad idea, considering the amount of studios they have working on every single game that they release.
Yeah,
like Ubisoft are a global, like, huge thing right now. But
what we used to call it, Ubisoft Village.
Yeah, it takes a Ubisoft Village.
Yeah. A Mechanical Beacon chat says, I feel like the game has a problem between being goofy and taking itself way too serious.
That's very true, and this is something that it came up before the game even came out. Was you got that original trailer for it, which was the cult preacher kind of trailer, right? And the real, like, middle America, and the whole what rights do we have for our guns kind of stuff, and everybody was like, oh my, a AAA developer pulling out a AAA game with a very clear politically motivated message. This should be fun. The dangers of a demagogue and all that kind of stuff, and everybody was speculating on what the game would be. And then literally the team came out and was like, yeah, we're not trying to have a message in our game. We're not trying to offend anyone. Yeah. It's like, well, okay then. That's that. I mean, Mechanical Beacon, he makes a very good point, like, because on one point you've got a pseudo-Christian cult that is doomsdaying for the planet, and then you have Herc, who, if you've ever met Herc in any of the previous Far Cry games, he's the idiot redneck guy who has a rocket launcher and is obsessed with blowing stuff up. Yeah, and he's gonna be your ill-timed comedic relief. Yes, and it gets even better in this because his parents are in this game. Oh boy. His mother, who is a liberal southerner, is the best way I can, like, I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say this, but it's the best way I can describe it is she feels like a liberal Texan, where she's all about having her guns, but she's all about understanding things like that. And then you have his father, who is a stereotypical Texan. Gotcha. In all of the negatives that entails in 2018. Right. And you can do missions for both of his parents and meet them both in more detail. And you can have him as a partner in crime running around with you at the same time. Right. It's interesting. I still, like, they do the Far Cry thing, which is they make a bad guy really compelling. Yeah, they're ever since 3, they've been really good at that. Which, I mean, 3 they kind of pooped up a little bit because they got rid of Vaz halfway through it, and he was the driving force behind that game. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, 4 wasn't really that perfect either, because you met the guy in the intro, and then you really
didn't interact with him much until the very end.
Yeah, the only thing with him was he would call you on the radio.
Yeah, that's fair.
At certain points.
Yeah.
But I think it's Joseph. I'm not sure. I can't remember which one's which. There's Faith, there's Joseph, I think there's James,
right.
And there's another J, I think. But I can't remember which one's which. But the leader is genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
Like, he is genuinely a very, very good bad guy villain. It's that old professional wrestling thing of he believes he is right, and that's what makes him a very good villain, is because as far as he's concerned, he is in the right and everybody else is wrong.
It's like a good anime villain. It's like, you're doing the wrong stuff because you believe in whatever crazy thing you believe in.
Yeah, exactly. His two brothers and his adopted sister Faith have very interesting stories. I still kind of like the guy the Yes Movement guy from the game. He's probably my most entertaining so far, who's about exposing your sins. Gross and really intriguing. Everything else, like your interactions with the bosses, are really, really good. Your boss missions are generally really, really bad.
Oh, bummer.
And the open world gameplay is, in general, it's a really good game. It's genuinely fun to play and mess around. And then you've got a bear running around with you and a leopard, because why not?
Because it's still a Far Cry game.
Yeah, called Cheeseburger and Peaches.
Is Cheeseburger the bear?
Cheeseburger's the bear, and Peaches is the mountain lion leopard. I can't even remember.
Cheeseburger is a pretty good name for a bear.
Yes, but the game is fun. Like, it's genuinely fun to play. It's so disappointing in so many ways, and I can't mention why because it's a bunch of spoilers. So that will probably go into Game of the Year discussions.
Right.
We'll see you in 3 months. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
it's 3 months until Game of the Year. So anyway, yeah, moving on.
Our games we missed list is going to be big this year.
Yes, more than just a little bit.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of Dead by Daylight. Since they made the free-to-play update. No, it's not free-to-play, but more free-to-play-esque with the cosmetics and stuff like that.
Oh, right.
That game is still so much fun. Like, even if you only play it for an hour, play it and have fun and try and learn what you're doing quick, because it makes all the biggest difference in the world.
I was hoping that it being free on PS Plus last month would have given it some more visibility, but it seems like it's not unpopular, but it has a very small devoted following.
Yes. I was actually talking about this with my wife today. It feels like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th are the No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous of the horror genre.
Okay.
Because Dead by Daylight, and I believe Friday the 13th was as well, but Dead by Daylight definitely was a kickstarted game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Friday the 13th was
It
too.
was, yeah.
Friday the 13th came out, dropped a big, huge game with a whole bunch of issues, and then went radio silent for a while, and then they released a big, huge patch with a little bit of DLC.
Right.
And then went radio silent for a little while, and then came back and released a huge patch with a bit of DLC.
We're still alive. Here's the patch notes.
Whereas Dead by Daylight came out very quietly, didn't have like the huge amount of buzz on the PC. Like, it was on the PC early access for the longest time, and it got a lot of buzz around then, like word of mouth spreading. And then it's come out now on consoles, and it's every 2-3 weeks or so, it's getting patches to fix bugs, it's getting rebalancing tweaks, it's getting stuff like that, which feels very much like a Friday the 13th is No Man's Sky and Dead by Elite Dangerous over here.
Yeah, I feel like that in the SAT questions section, that I think that formula fits.
Yeah, so Dead by Daylight has the clown villain now, who's still super creepy, I'm not gonna lie.
Horribly terrifying.
Yes. I mean, to be honest, that's the thing that game does better than I think most, is the tension that racks up the second you start getting a heartbeat in your ears and you know there's a killer really close.
Yeah.
It's so much... It's so fun and so tense. Like, I was playing it earlier with my wife, and we're both working on a generator at the same time. One of us, I believe it was me, made a mistake, causes a minor explosion to the generator. not
Just a tiny explosion.
Just a little one. It's like a fuse shortage.
Oh, okay.
Like it pops your progress bar on that generator back a little bit. But the scariest thing it does is it creates a visual and audio indication to the killer that someone is working on that generator.
Just like, here, where the humans are.
Exactly. So we stopped working on the generator, and there was 2 closets either side of the generator. We stopped. We both went to each closet. We both went into a closet and just waited.
Right.
The heartbeat starts. It gets really intense. And then the killer walks right between us, looks right, looks left, and then walks past me and around the corner and doesn't check the closet. And it's one of those things where the heartbeat's getting more intense, the music is ratcheting up, and you're just like, please don't open, because if you're
like
in the
your
closet,
heartbeat is getting crazy.
Because if he opens that closet and I'm in there, he grabs me. There is no need to hit me. He's immediately got me prone and ready to put on a hook.
Oh wow!
So it's like it was one of those. That type of moment happens every single game. It feels like.
Oh god! I don't know if my heart could take it. It's a good workout.
It's so good, dude. It's so good, and I'll be honest, it's even better because they have gone out and got the licenses for Freddy. They've got the license for Michael, and when you hear that
their music,
the piano tones from not Friday the 13th, from Halloween, when you hear that, it's terrifying.
Gotta go.
And it's even scary when you start hearing 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, and you know he's right next to you, and you just can't see him because he's in the dream world. I can't take it. It's such a dude. You should totally play that game.
Yeah,
it's so much dumb fun. So yeah, if you have Dead by Daylight and you happen to be on the Xbox platform, feel free to message myself or my wife, Zero Bearded Lady Zero. I think there's underscores. I'm not sure. We are always up for playing that because there are like 2,000 achievements in it, and we need to play it, and it's fun too. So that works out quite nicely. Let's see. Let's talk about new old games. Kind of new old games.
Okay.
2018 Game of the Year, best old game goes to Tales from the Borderlands.
Oh, yeah.
I finally, after 2 years or 3 years of owning this thing, finally sat down and beat Tales from the Borderlands.
Boy, that ending shot, huh?
Yup.
Oh, man. Certainly not going to spoil it because I feel like people, if you still haven't played this, you really need to. It's not really a Borderlands game, so I think if you're expecting like Tiny Tina has an episode, that's not gonna happen.
Yep. It is the best compilation of the emotional punches of a Walking Dead game with the off-the-wall humor of a Borderlands game.
That last giant boss fight at the end where the game changes how you play it is really good.
Yep. Let's talk about the journey in the caravan to the base with the booster rockets and the thing that happens in that episode and how the tears were running down my face.
Yep. Both
happy and sad tears.
What about your friend that takes his shirt off?
Oh, yes.
His model.
Buff Vaughn is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in video games.
It's so unexpected, and like I love that your character is just like, "Hey man, what's going on here? Why do you look like that? That's not what happened."
Yep, and like the main antagonist at the very start of it is just like in talking to you and Vaughn. And he stops in the middle of the sentence like, look, do we have a spare shirt around here? Because your body is like just so distracting right now. And then 3 chapters later, he refers to it as a magical exercise bike. And he's like, it's not magical, it's just an exercise bike.
Yeah.
Like, Buff Vaughn is hilarious.
Finding out some really great stuff about, what was it, the butt unicorn?
Yep.
Is really
unicorn.
Good. Yep. That's. I feel like that's one of the few games. I feel like that and the Telltale Batman series I can recommend without any real hesitation. I feel
that is
like
next on my list, if I'm honest, because we have both Batman games.
I'm very excited for you to play. I think that's even shorter than Tales from the Borderlands.
Yep.
If I could encourage you to pop that in next.
Well, to be honest, this all came up from the "oh no, Moon has no storage space left on his Xbox."
Yeah.
Moon
Let's
needs
bang
to
out some stuff.
clear out some games real quick.
Yeah.
So, Tales from the Borderlands, I thought, well, I've been waiting so long for it. What else can I knock out relatively quick after that?
Right.
I have Walking Dead Season 2. I have Walking Dead The Complete Collection. I have the Batman Series 1, the Batman Series 2. All still to go from the Telltale Studios.
Spend 10 hours just bang out 3 seasons.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like Tales from the Borderlands... I almost wish it didn't have the Borderlands name associated with it, because that carries so much baggage for people. You know, either they got burned by the first one, or they got burned by something in the second one, and they don't want to play more Borderlands stuff.
Yep.
But like I said, it's really not a Borderlands game. It just takes place in that world.
Yep.
And the characters that they have in there aren't, you know, the main characters from any of the 3 games, really. Some of them do come in and come out, you know.
Yeah, you get cameos, but...
Yeah, but they're never like, now you're playing as Athena. You know, that's your main character for this season.
Yep.
And I feel like that makes it so much better.
Oh, yeah, I'm kicking myself a little bit because I waited this long to play it. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad I did, because I got to sit down and literally just plow through the entire thing. Like, I think I'd finished like an episode and a half, and then I loaded it up. I did the last of the episode. I got the recap for the previous 2 episodes, and I was good to go. And I literally I was coming home from work, sitting down, playing Tales from the Borderlands. I'd do a chapter that night.
Yeah, hour and a half, knock it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the gut punches in that thing are incredible. The 2 robot companions are probably my 2 favorite robots, period.
Yeah.
Those 2 robots are fighting right now with the Titan from Titanfall 2 as 2 best robot companions of all time for me.
Yep. Right up there with, like, GLaDOS.
Yeah, GLaDOS and HK-147 from the Star Wars KOTOR games.
Yep.
Yeah, he's incredible too, but those 2, as individuals, those 2 are fantastic characters, and then as a unit, they are so much better.
Yeah. I also really liked that they, even from the beginning, they did a really great job of sort of dragging you along with the whoever the mysterious person is that has the mask that's, you know, bringing you through the desert. I thought,
the flashbacks.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done too, because I thought I'd be sick of that, but like even by episode 5, I'm like, who is it? Please tell me. And like, I feel like the whole payoff was surprisingly good.
Yeah, I called it.
Okay.
By accident. Like, I was sitting playing, like my wife was sitting next to me. And I said to her, because she's already beat the game, so I said to her, is that character this character by any chance?
Right.
And she's like, I'm not saying nothing. And then by the end, it was like, yes, it was the character I thought it was. But still, that doesn't take away from how good that game is. Mm-hmm. And they do just enough to blend it into the Borderlands story to make it make sense. And also at the same time, they do enough Telltale stuff to make it actually pack that punch.
Right.
Like, the only thing I ever felt like negative emotions for, or positive emotions when it came to the Borderlands series, was when you learn about Tiny Tina's backstory. That is a horrifically sad and depressing. And
her voice acting at the end of the Tiny Tina's Dangerous Keep, something like
Dragon's
that.
Keep, I believe.
Dragon's Keep, yeah. That was Ashley Birch is so good.
Yeah, and like she's one of the most tragic figures in like that universe, and it does such a good job. I think it's Borderlands 2 main game. Like, you learn about what happened to her to make her the way she is.
Yeah, I think you start learning it. Yeah,
and that is heartbreaking, but it's also, well, obviously, but you're okay at the same time because you're alive and you have dealt with it in your own psychotic nature, have dealt with this appropriately.
Right.
But then you get Tales from the Borderlands and the story arc involving somebody who is sponsoring you or has the potential to sponsor you.
Yeah.
That's a heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
And so is the heartbreaking story of Felix, who is a character brand new for this show, and the sisters and everything else in that game is like I said, they did a fantastic job of writing a game that embraces the universe it's set in, and yet still being able to draw all of those stupid Walking Dead Season 1 emotions out of you.
Yep.
Still, probably that might be my favorite Telltale game, just for the fact that I was crying like a baby by the end of
that whole last episode of the season. Just like, no, please.
Yep. That's a bad season.
Yeah, I still can't recommend Tales from Borderlands enough. If you like how Telltale games play and function, I don't think there's a reason for you to skip it.
No, and to be honest, running on the Xbox One, it ran perfectly fine for me.
Yep.
Like, no skips, no frame issues, none of the stuff that usually comes accompanying with those kind of games. Like, it ran absolutely fine. So,
no I had more problems in the Batman Season 1 than I did in Tales from Borderlands.
Yeah, Game of Thrones was horrific.
I heard that, yeah.
So bad with the Game of Thrones one. But
yeah.
Which, if I'm right, that was actually the latest, other than Batman Season 1. I think that came out after Tales and before Batman.
Yeah, I think so.
But, I don't know. They're building a new engine now, so hopefully they can get that thing fixed.
Yeah.
Let's see. 2 more games to go. Keeping on with today's theme of 2018 Game of the Year possibilities, let's talk about the social media human nightmare that is Spider-Man, open brackets, 2018, close brackets. Yo, this game is real good.
This game also looks really good.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to start this off with what in my opinion is the showstopper. And I think it might have been you that tweeted somebody who mentioned this. It's an open world game in a city. And when you're going around, they have used some lighting black magic so that as you're swinging past buildings, you can see in the windows of buildings.
Yep.
And they have depth.
Yeah, there's like apartments and office buildings in the there's stuff in there instead of just like, here's a glass window.
Yes, instead of here's a glass window, instead of here's the the flat image of a room.
Yes, exactly. Here's a JPEG of a room.
Like, how did they do that?
Yeah, one thing I have to give Insomniac a lot of credit for is they've been hitting Twitter and talking a lot about how they technically did all of this stuff. Like, I'm sure you saw some of the stuff going around news sites and Twitter for the last 2 days about the different voice takes.
I did not.
Okay, so they actually recorded virtually every line twice.
Okay.
One for if Spider-Man is just kind of chilling there, and another take if he's flying around and exerting himself.
I have noticed. I have actually noticed that in the middle of a conversation with a character who I was on the phone with, I was just walking around, and then I jumped and started swinging, and he immediately shifted from regular talk into exerting himself talk in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah, they were talking about it today, saying like their engineers figure out a way to pass all that stuff to the engine where they can switch between vocal takes on the fly, depending on what you're doing. It's like, that's super cool, and it's cool that you're talking about how you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it, but I was surprised by how it picked up, like, in the middle of my swing, the exertedness of him.
Mm-hmm.
It probably didn't give enough credit to the developers when I noticed that, thinking, how did they do that? I just thought, oh, it's really good design. He suddenly sounds exhausted, or like he's,
like he's doing stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, but Windows, dude.
Yeah, that's
how many open world games in cities with buildings have we had? And this is the first time that we have that volumetric, like, lighting kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those examples. I don't like exclusives.
No, I don't either.
Just in general for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is one of those cases, and I feel like that's something Insomniac has always been really good at, is they managed to put a game on a piece of hardware, and they laser focus on, we're not even putting it on PC, we're just putting this out on PS4, It's very much the same as the Halo series, where they are laser focused on that single platform, and they squeeze every last drop of performance out of it. And when you see that stuff, both for Halo on the Xbox and for Spider-Man on PS4 and God of War on PS4 this year too, it just looks so good. Like, you can tell they've optimized this thing, and Insomniac's always been really good at that. All the way back to the first Ratchet and Clank game, where it's like, oh, you made an open world game on the PS2 that runs at 60 frames. Holy crap! How did you guys do this?
Not even talking about the particle effects on all of the guns and everything in those first couple of Ratchet and Clank games.
Still impressive.
Windows. That's my big takeaway from Spider-Man so far is Windows.
Holy crap, Windows.
Because it makes a huge difference. You don't realize how much of a difference that thing makes until you're in the world and you notice it for the first time, and then you don't stop noticing it.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of other games are just Looney Tunes, like painting a bridge on a canyon wall. Yep,
exactly. Okay, so other than Windows, what else is there about Spider-Man 2018 that I can talk about? Okay, so the game looks amazing. Flat out, that game looks incredible. In the department of looks, let's talk about animation. Or otherwise known as, oh my word, how did they put so many animations and make it look so natural and so Spider-Man-esque?
Yeah.
For him to be moving around the city as he does. When you do one of the, I'll get to the web swinging in a second, but as you're doing that and he's literally swinging backwards, just chilling, swinging backwards, going really, really, really fast. And he's just like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, this is what I do.
Yeah, I know how to do this.
And then you let go of that and he does a double barrel cartwheel and turns the right way all of a sudden and starts swinging his next thing.
It's so cool.
I mentioned this on Twitter because I accidentally did this, and it might be one of my favorite pieces of animation in video games ever. If you get the chance and you're swinging above rooftops, like above the little rooftops, and you see a water tower, do the rooftop thing, which I'll talk about again in a second. But there's a thing you can do to keep your they phrase it this way, so I apologize, to keep your flow on rooftops. There's a thing you can do where if you pull both triggers at the same time, you basically zip to a location.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do that at one of the water towers. I'm saying no more. Just go out and do it, everybody.
Oh, man.
Just please, for my sanity, go out and do it, because the second I did that, I almost put the controller down and walked away.
You peed yourself a little.
It shows a knowledge of Spider-Man that no other game has really been able to do. It shows a knowledge of the character, of the movement, of his type of powers, his type of ability to traverse from A to B. Right. It shows such a good knowledge of the character to have even that. It's a very simple animation thing. It makes a huge difference for world building. Onto this whole rooftop zip thing. So yeah, swinging is very, very simple. So let's talk about traversal for a little bit.
Okay.
So the web swinging feels so good.
It even, watching GIFs, it even looks like it feels good. Just when you're watching it, it's like, man, it looks like it controls perfectly.
Yep, and it's one of the things I think it was Spider-Man 2000 or Spider-Man 2 from 2004, which was the game that came out the same time as the movie, but was not based on the movie.
Right.
It had its own individual
story. It's like
the
last great Spider-Man game.
Yeah, they had the thing where, I haven't unlocked anything like it yet, but they had the thing where you hold a button to swing, you hold right bumper to swing there, left bumper, I think, to swing the other way, but then you had the whole thing where you can pull a trigger to give him, a big bit of momentum. They don't have the momentum building, trigger pull or anything, but they don't need it because it runs so quick as it is. It's just the right speed, and you just keep getting faster because as you gain XP and level up, you get swing speed increases. You just keep getting faster as you're doing it, and as you get faster, you get a better handle on the way it plays, a better handle on the way it flows. They've put so many little touches into it. Swinging around corners now, it's so good. And then it does this great thing of where if you're running towards the edge, like if you're wall running along the edge of a building or towards the roof, if you hit the jump button, he will jump past the roof, hit the rooftop with the web, and then swing himself down the other side.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so many little options and traversal things in here. Like, you can hit the jump button, and when you jump off a web swing, you get a bit of propulsion. He does the whole web zip thing where he pulls himself forwards.
Right.
The roof traversal thing is a breakthrough. So, pulling the right trigger and the left trigger, basically, it's the... not the crackdown, it's like the Bionic Commando thing where there's a circle, or the Batman thing. There's a circle when you hit a button. In Batman, you zip up to the roof.
Right.
In this one, when you hit both triggers, you zip to the circle that you can see. If you hit the jump button as you land on it, he uses it as essentially a horse, like a gymnastics horse.
Oh, and he pommels off of it.
Exactly, he pommels off of it and gets a huge boost of speed and momentum. So you can literally, on no tall buildings around, so you can't do the swingy swing. You have to go over the top of rooftops, so you just zip, jump, zip, jump, zip, jump.
Oh, I see.
It's such a quick movement speed and the height he gets. And I've just unlocked an upgrade, which means that when I do the pommel thing, I get a huge boost of speed, and all of a sudden I'm going 3 times higher and 3 times further. And, oh my word, it's so much fun just to move. God of War, you've got some challenge in your hands right now, my friend.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing from people. If you have both consoles, it's been a good year for single player games.
Yep. I'm loving the story. I'm loving the way it starts. I love the guy they've got doing Spider-Man in this.
I think it's Yuri Lowenthal.
Genuinely good Spider-Man. He's just sarcastic enough, but the best thing is it's not an origin story, it's an experienced Peter Parker. So he's been doing this for a while. He's already put away 4 or 5 of the Sinister Six are already in jail. So there's a whole thing going on with that. There's Kingpin in the start, then there's other people all over the place. It's a very, very, very interesting approach to a Spider-Man game where you don't have to know really anything.
You don't get bit at the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing. It starts with a spider outside of his room, and it teases this spider's going to bite him moment, but it doesn't, because as it pans over, you see the Spider-Man outfit and stuff. But
yeah, he is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, everybody would probably recognize him because he's been in basically everything.
Well, he is very, very good.
Yeah, he is. To me, he's on the level of somebody like Nolan North, but I feel like Yuri has been in so much stuff, but he hasn't gotten the name recognition that someone like Nolan North has yet. Yeah.
Does he play more younger characters?
I think he's sort of all over the place. I'm trying to find what he's famous for. His Wikipedia while we're talking about other stuff. But yeah, he's very prolific.
Yeah, well, he does incredible. There was some discussions on Twitter. I've been having conversations with friends of the show, Mackie and Greencapped, about specifically the combat.
I've heard some people having trouble getting into the combat.
Yeah, and Mackie pointed it out on Twitter, which I didn't even think about until he pointed it out. It is essentially it's Batman Arkham Asylum combat. Okay. It doesn't have a counter move. It has only dodges.
Okay.
It doesn't have a counter, which it makes sense a little bit because it's Spider-Man and he's not known for blocking shots and parrying.
Yeah, he's very agile.
But at the same time, you could just incorporate a dodge into that animation. Have a counter button where he essentially uses his agility to do the same thing.
Right.
It took me a little bit to get back into it, and then I realized, I was thinking about this. The last time I played a Batman-style combat game was Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, okay.
Way back when the Xbox One first came out.
That was the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have not played a Batman-style combat game since then, really.
Wow, okay.
So it could be a case of I'm just a little bit of ring rust from that kind of thing. I've gotten better at it. there are upgrades that help with this. I posted a quick video to Twitter of me beating up a whole bunch of thugs in about 20 seconds flat.
Oh, man.
And I'm not going to lie, there's an upgrade that you can get where when you web somebody and they're all webbed, there's an upgrade you get where you can then grab them like an object and spin them around.
Great.
I literally just unlocked that. It was the first combat I got into after unlocking that. Didn't know, but he was the last person, so I thought, I'm just going to web him up and then swing him around just for fun. When you let go of him, he hit a wall and then he stuck to the wall. It was the best thing.
Oh, it's so perfect.
It's so good. And I was just like, okay, I'm 100% in on this. So I do feel like I've gotten the combat legs under me. It does... there are towers that that open part of the map and show you collectibles.
Okay.
There is a bunch of collectibles.
Oh, no.
It feels very much like it is designed maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Sure, it's like an old-school Ubisoft open-world game.
Yeah, let's say maybe they started the design doc on this when they finished developing the game I'm going to need to play next, which I can't remember what it's called. Their last game.
Insomniac's last game?
Yes, the energy drinks game.
A Sunset Overdrive.
Thank you.
Whew.
It feels like it might have been started to have the design doc laid out around about that time and not really evolved. But I don't mind, because the collectibles are stuff like photos of landmarks in New York, backpacks from your high school days.
Awesome.
Which are full of, like, every time you get one, it's a collectible, which is a reference to Spider-Man, which is so dumb and good.
That's great.
Spider-Man 2018, folks.
The thing to me from seeing very little of it, it's mostly people talking about it online, saying like, "Oh my god, it's so great! I'm going to go back to playing it." It sounds like, to me, what you're saying is that it seems like they did everything right. Even like the Spider-Man references and the combat and the movement, just everything. It sounds to me a lot like God of War, where you're playing it and it's like, not only is this good looking and great voice acting and amazing music, the whole thing just feels right. Like, there isn't one part of the game where you're like, God, I wish the climbing animation was better, or I wish X, Y, or Z was better, because that would make this game perfect. It just, all of it works together to just somehow be a sum of its parts. And all the parts are good.
So far, this feels like probably... I'm only a couple of hours in. For the record, folks, I've only probably put about 5 or 6 hours into this so far, if that.
Right.
As is well documented on this show, I may have an issue when it comes to using the PlayStation 4 controller.
Sure.
To the point where I started to feel it yesterday and forced myself to stop playing the game, because otherwise I would suffer for another 2 weeks.
Right.
So I kind of backed off a little bit on it. But so far, this feels like about the most perfect open world game this generation has seen.
Wow.
Red Dead Redemption comes out this year.
Yeah, heaven help us.
And it's one of those things where it's like, again, it's the objective subjective discussion when it comes to Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
Is the story in this going to match the story of God of War? I don't know, because I'm only in the first couple of hours. We shall see.
Right.
Is the open world nature of this going to elevate it above other games because of the things that they do so well? I mean, Windows.
But I think when you look at the rest of the year, if there's someone that's going to knock you off of the open world throne, it's going to be Rockstar. You know, they at least have the chance. You know, I'm not going to pick up Red Dead 2. I'm not going to play it. I know it's not going to be in my wheelhouse. But I know it's going to be a title that's going to be of an incredible quality. And it will come out, and more for anybody that plays it, it will probably be right up there in like top 2 or 3 of Game of the Year this year.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I had my top 2 on lockdown. I thought my top 2 were 100% locked down. God of War and Monster Hunter, which one hit number 1?
Yep.
that was before I realized Red Dead was coming out this year.
Right.
That was before this game came along, and so far is, like I said, minor combat issues aside, which could just be ring rust for me, not being used to it or getting used to a new style of system. This game is right in that list right now. Like, voice acting wise, storytelling wise, the game looks beautiful. It's got so many plots going on at the same time. Like, it's got a really good A story, B story, and side missions and all this other stuff going on. And I'm barely even scratching the surface. There's like 20 Spider-Man suits in the suit option list.
Yeah,
like,
that stuff looks really cool.
If not like 25 to 30. Because they immediately start you with the availability to buy 5 of them, including the Spider-Man Noir and Scarlet Spider-Man. And
super cool.
Oh, yeah. This game is incredible.
Hey, also don't forget that Forza Horizon 4 is coming out this year too.
I know. It's terrible.
I'm a little concerned about Forza Horizon 4 for our top 10 because
getting lost in the shuffle because it's quote unquote just a racing game.
No, well, I'm concerned about that for other outlets, but I think for us, I think Forza Horizon is a known quantity at this point, and another Forza Horizon game has the high likelihood of being incredible. But it's the 4th in a series, so like it would be hard. It could potentially be hard to beat it. Something like God of War, which is obviously a sequel, but a reimagining of that series. And then something like Spider-Man. We haven't gotten a good Spider-Man since, like we said, the PS2 game.
Yep.
And for you to have a Insomniac come in and do an open world game sounds like much better than they did with Sunset Overdrive. You look at Forza Horizon 4 and be like, yeah, I mean, we knew that was going to be good. It's a Forza Horizon game.
I think the thing with Forza Horizon 4 as well, though, is it's going to suffer from the same thing that all of those open world racing games do, which is me and you will probably both put a good 20 to 30 hours into that thing the first month it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Then we're going to keep playing it for the next 4 years.
Yes. There's always a little bit more to do. There's one more challenge.
Once I've got the platinum on God of War, I am done with God of War. Once I get the platinum on Spider-Man, I am done with Spider-Man.
I keep thinking about going back to God of War to try out the New Game Plus mode, and then I think, God, if I'm going to start God of War, I'm going to want to probably play through the whole thing again, because it's been just long enough.
Yep.
And I just bought Dragon Quest XI, which is legitimately a 100-hour game, so I can't.
And not to mention the Yakuza game is out / comes out really soon.
It's already out. I have it.
Yeah.
I'm not even halfway through 6, and Kiwami 2 is in my entertainment center.
That's a game series I desperately want to play.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go and start with whatever the Machete Yakuza thing is now. So do I start with Kiwami? Do I start with 0?
You start with 0.
So do I do 0, Kiwami, then Kiwami 2, and then hopefully they do 3 and 4, and then I can go get 5 and then 6.
Yep. I would recommend for anybody that's looking, play 0. So far, it's the best one by and far. Then play Kiwami 1 and 2, and then honestly, I'd probably just wait to see if the 3, 4, 5 remakes are coming out here. Or remasters, sorry. And then 6 will be super cheap when that comes out. And that'll be the whole, from front to back, those 7 games are the whole Kiryu, Dragon of Dojima series.
Okay.
But 0 is so good.
0's digital only, isn't it? I seem to... Is it...
no, there was a physical one that...
digital only?
No, all of them have been physical, but 0 I don't think had a big print run here because it was very much like, we'll put out a Yakuza game. Oh god, it caught fire. Yeah, if you only play one of those, play 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's another game series another open world game series to look into. Oh, by the way, Boston.
Thankfully, the world in Yakuza is very small.
True. By the way, I forgot to mention, Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out this year, too.
No, it comes out next year.
Oh, next year?
February. It's the same day that everything else comes out, February the next year. I think it's February 29th.
Oh, okay, because I'm pretty sure that's the Crackdown date as well, and I'm pretty sure they'll all get bumped and moved around as soon as next year starts.
Let's look. It is... Kingdom Hearts 3 on Amazon is listed for January 29th. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because that's right around my birthday time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Spider-Man. I know you said you were waiting for reviews, but dude, go. Just I know finances and everything else, but dude, seriously.
I'm planning on waiting until like Black Friday, Christmas time around this year. I feel like around that time I could probably buy it digitally for like $30-$40, and I feel like that I should have more stuff off my plate by that point, and I should be I hear it seems like it's not a buggy game, so I don't have to worry about patches or anything, but I feel like even at that point you might be able to get, you know, that and some of the DLC for pretty cheap. So who knows?
But no, Spider-Man is amazing.
Go do it.
Pun intended.
Yes.
No pun intended when I said that. My final game this week, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this works as a good transition game. I am continuing my depressing, dark, emotionally terrible slog through Vampyr.
Yes, so let's start off with Don't Nod, I Love You. They insist it's pronounced Vampire. It's not. Like, I don't want to belabor this point, but in European fiction history, vampires and vampires have been different things.
Yep.
So I will probably, quote-unquote, accidentally pronounce it correctly, Vampyr, at some point, but apparently...
Like I said on Twitter, dude, it will always be Vampyr in my heart.
Yeah, they apparently insist that it's pronounced incorrectly like vampire, so I will try to respect their wishes in this trying time. But no, I have it installed. I remembered that it had a fairly sizable patch, so I wanted to toss it in my PS4, you know, get it installed, get the patch installed. The patch wasn't bad. It was, I think, only 8 gigs, like between 8 and 13 gigs.
Yeah.
So compared to all the patches that have been coming out for Destiny 2 lately, you toss 18 gigs at me, fine. No big deal.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm continuing my depressing slug around there. That game is really sad. Like, really super duper dark in a very Victorian England vampire story kind of way.
Yeah, I meant to ask you because I haven't started it yet. Is it a fairly sweary game?
No.
Okay.
So far, I don't think I've actually had a single curse word.
Okay.
That I can think of. There might be one or two, but in general, the main thing with that is probably the violence.
Yeah, I mean, my kid doesn't really care about what's happening on the TV. She's very interested in when people are talking on the TV, though. So that's my real concern.
Yeah, in general, it's a very Victorian England kind of game.
Sure.
Everyone is very prim and proper, except for the occasional gangster who is...
Right.
It was more about threatening you because they're going to do you in, kind of thing.
You what, mate?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I've just hit Chapter 4.
Okay.
I'm assuming of 5. We shall see.
Okay.
I don't know anymore.
5 for Vampyr.
I don't know. Is it acts? Is it chapters? Is there 7? Is there 15? Is there 5? Like, all the old theatre logic has gone completely out the window at this point, and games will just be however long they're going to be.
That's usually when I look up a walkthrough on GameFAQs, where it's like, I'm going to look at the table of contents and just be like, okay, there are 10 chapters and an ending chapter. Okay, so I'm getting to about the halfway point.
So I think it feels like I'm about halfway / approaching the end.
Okay.
But I've only explored what looks like 3 of the 4 or 5 districts, so I know there's still a huge chunk of game left to go.
Right. And then there's the inverted castle.
Yes.
The whole city flips. Like, no.
Oh, I wish. That would be so cool. Dark London would be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be great if they pulled something like... And game's been out for long enough so I can sort of spoil some of the beginning stuff of Shin Megami Tensei 4. One of the best parts about that game is you spend a couple hours in the intro and you like go through a dungeon and it's all this very like everyone's dressed up like they're practicing kendo and it's this very like ancient Japanese setting and it's all sort of a little bit boring. Mm-hmm. And then a couple hours in, you get to the bottom of the very first dungeon, and there's this door, and you open it up, and all of this modern cyberpunk Tokyo is sprawled out under you, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, that's what the world really looks like. that's some fake stuff. And it's like, yes, this is so cool.
That's really, really cool. But yeah, no, I literally cannot say anything about Vampyr because anything I talk about at this point is 100% spoiler territory. And it gets to the point when I'm playing it and my wife is sitting next to me and I'm literally saying to her, do not look at my screen.
Like, turn the TV a little bit.
I know there are subtitles, and I know subtitles are the big distraction for you.
Right.
Stop looking at my screen.
You need one of those privacy screens like they have in hospital monitors.
Yeah, like little...
You can only see it when you're straight on.
Yeah. I mean, they go through all this thing with viewing angles on TV and how great and wide the viewing angle is. No, give me a viewing angle that's literally...
It's 10 degrees.
Yeah, that's all I need. But no, Vampyr...
It's still thumbs up? Like, I feel like Vampyr is going to be like thumbs up, thumbs down at this point.
So far, still thumbs up.
Okay.
There is decisions, like I said, there are decisions I've made which were not mislabeled, but misleading.
Right.
So there are some things to do with this that I'm struggling with, but that's kind of my fault for not thinking ahead. Like, 3 solutions... You pick one, you don't think there's going to be any ramifications. They're like, no, there is ramifications. These are the ramifications. Deal with it. Because the game auto-saves after everything.
So one of my favorite things about this game is you fire it up, and the very first message is like, hey, man, this medicine and this science is not real. Like, we're taking it from Victorian books, and we're making up a little bit. Please don't do any of this medicine stuff. For real.
Yep.
And then the next screen has the giant autosave icon. It's huge on screen. It says, it essentially says, you can't save scum. We're saving all the time.
Yep. And literally the bottom line on that page is, live with your decisions.
Yep. And I thought that was so great. I was like, okay, cool. I like it.
It's like, I think I mentioned it to you and the guys over at Tiltcast. It's a bad decision simulator. It's how this game feels.
Yep.
And I kind of love it for it, because I've also just hit the point where you are... Basic plot setup, you work in a hospital, you are a night doctor in this hospital, which allows you to operate as a vampire and as a doctor, so you can do your bunch of research and stuff. I'm at the point now where all the other doctors are saying to me, yo, dude, you don't spend that much time in this hospital helping patients. Why is that?
What are you doing?
So, I feel like things are going to get real serious real quick.
Nice.
So, Vampyr is really, really interesting, and that's pretty much all I've been playing. But before I pass it over to you, Boston, I need to talk about my PlayStation 4 downloading debacle that happened this week.
You ran into your first true PSN is slow, why God, why experience.
Two things happened at the same time. There was that, where literally I think it was an 11 gig update, a 3 gig update, and a 400 megabyte patch.
Yep.
And in total, it said it was going to be around about like 30 something hours to download them all. Which, okay, fine. PSN, you're slow, whatever.
Yep. That's a known quantity.
Yeah, I'll deal with that. The unknown quantity, and my favorite thing from this, was I had my PS4 set up on Wi-Fi. My wife and I both use Astro A50 wireless headsets, which are optically plugged into our Xboxes, so we have the 5.1 surround sound and all that other kind of goodness. Suddenly, my wife's headset started flickering audio-wise, like it was doing audio bugging, where it was like, okay, why is this thing flickering?
Right, like
that's
what happens?
Never happened before, so we did the Xbox reset. We did the Xbox, switch the thing off, switch it back on, switch the headset on, switch it back off. Still not happening. I love my wife. She has a tendency to touch something of technology and it disintegrates in her fingers.
It just...
So I was thinking, well, here's a $250 headset that's probably just disintegrated in her fingers.
Next thing you know, the earphones are going to fall off and roll away.
Exactly. She is a black cat when it comes to technology.
Right.
I assumed that was what was going on, but then we were playing around it, and I was like, okay, well, let's just do the wire check. So I unplugged my optical cables and switched them around, and hers was still doing the same thing. In the middle of doing that, I thought, I wonder if it's the PlayStation.
Right.
Because 90% of the time, I don't have the PlayStation on.
It's the only variable.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that's changed. So we did a test, and it turns out if I'm downloading an update on my PlayStation or anything on my PlayStation via Wi-Fi, it interrupts my Asteroid 50s and her Asteroid 50s.
Yep.
So we cannot hear audio from our Xboxes at the same time as downloading.
So I just did some Googling on why that is, and it's, to be quite honest, it's because Astro designed their headsets wrong.
Awesome.
Their products operate between channel 149 and 165 on the 5 gigahertz range.
Which is exactly the same thing that the PlayStation Wi-Fi frequency operates at.
No, it'll be your base station. But the problem is, number one, don't use that Wi-Fi connection. That's not what you should be using. And then number two, don't put it smack dab in the middle of the most common 5 gigahertz wireless channels, because that's just going to happen. Like, of course, your wireless base station is going to say, all these channels are free. I'm just going to use a whole bunch of them, because that's what it does. And then as soon as, another device tries to hop on that, then it's going to start, Astro, come on. Because it's to me, it's not your guys' fault, to be sure. It's really not your base station's fault or the PS4 or Xbox One's fault. It's the headset.
It's just
doing what it shouldn't be doing.
A little bit of idiocy on that side. But I couldn't help but laugh, because
it's
as if my wife...
where it's like, of course.
Yeah, as if my wife needed another reason to not like Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just turn on my PlayStation and interrupt everything that she plays.
Right.
It's not like anything that she plays desperately needs sound, like PUBG or Rainbow Six Siege or anything along these lines.
It's just one of those things where it's like, of course it would. Like, of course it would interrupt your headphones.
Yeah, why not?
And even though it's not the PS4's fault,
it's not.
It's a good chance for her to blame it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was genuinely hilarious.
Yeah.
So, fun fact for everyone, that's a weird situation to be in. It's fine. I unplugged this, because this plugs in hardwire all the way downstairs. So I just unplugged my tower, plugged my PS4 in directly, hardwired it in, and the interference went away.
Yeah.
The speed was still horrific, but the interference went away.
I feel like the download speeds on PS4 is very much like, if you get the right phase of the moon and the wind is blowing in the right direction, you get really great speeds for a while, and then even a half an hour later, it'll be like, okay, an 18 gig patch is going to take me 4 hours. Okay, this is my life now.
I mean, I'm not a snob. I didn't grow up on Steam with its 2 teraflop download speed. I have grown through the Xbox system, where I went on 360, where it was like a couple of hours for a couple of gig. Now to the one where it's lightning fast and it will suck up all of your network if it can. So that's fine. It just makes me laugh, because it's like, come on, Sony.
Yeah.
And you wonder why I don't want to pay for PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, that's why background downloads are so important for PS4. Is like, you're just, whenever a patch comes out, it's just going to be working while I'm sleeping.
Yep. I've got it set up now, so the console auto rests itself after a while.
Perfect.
So now whenever I'm doing downloads or updates or anything like that, I'm just going to hardwire it in, switch it on, and let it do it in the background.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's all I've been playing. What about you, Boston?
I finished Hollow Knight.
Oh.
Finished in quotes. So
I saw in Discord you got one of the endings, but not the best ending.
Yeah. We'll touch on that here very shortly, but I made it all the way, basically, like, it's not a spoiler. You make it throughout the map, and at some point you run into, like, the statue or something, and it shows 3 masks on the map. You have to go there and do something. Once you've done all 3 things, this giant shrine opens up near the very beginning of the game that you look at when you start the game, and you're like, oh, that's probably the end of the game. Like, it's terrifyingly oppressive.
It's giving you that why do I always Shadow Complex, when the base comes out of the water. It's like, okay, this is the end of the game.
Right, like that's where the bad guy is. Okay. So I did all 3 of those things, opened the door, and immediately in there, there's a bench to sit on. Benches save your map progress, heal your health, and creates a save point. What that final bench also did is a pop-up showed up and said, hey, you've made it to the end. Now on the inventory screen, we'll show you your completion percentage. I was like, oh, perfect.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I was like, that's perfect. I bet I'm like 85%. I've been scouring this place. 61%. And I was just like, that for me, if anyone wants to pinpoint the beginning of the end for Hollow Knight for me, it's that 61% that I saw in the corner. Which is fine, and I'll get to why that's fine here in a minute. But I went in, fought the final boss. It's a really great boss fight. The story implications for it are really good, especially when you unlock. Basically, really early on in the game, you meet the hunter. He gives you the hunter journal, and it's a bestiary, and when you defeat an enemy for the first time, it shows up in the journal, and it'll say, like, defeat 15 more of these enemies to decrypt the hunter's notes.
It's like the God of War thing. The more you kill it, the more hints you get.
Well, yeah, but I guess it is sort of like God of War, because God of War also did some lore stuff in the bestiary. This one is primarily lore, especially for the bosses. And that's the main way that you figure out what happened in the kingdom, and like what happened to Hollow Knight and then the king and all this mythology they built around. So a lot of one big interesting story point goes into the journal once you finish the game. I did get the first ending, which is very much like you did the 3 things, you beat the boss, here's the ending. I immediately looked up how to get the other endings, because in the base game there's 2 other endings. I was going to go do the thing to get the skill that would then change the ending anyway.
Oh, you were going to do the thing to get the thing to do the thing.
Yeah. And it's very much like, go to this corner of the map to get this thing, and it unlocks this giant door that you had an icon on your map for the last 20 hours to say, how do I get in this thing? That sort of thing. And then you go into a really cool and another very terrifying area. And I realized if I kept playing Hollow Knight, I was gonna go the whole way. So either I cut it now and say I've had an incredible experience with an incredible game, and then do the whole thing on the PS4 with like the controller I really prefer and not the Joy-Cons. And as a reminder, it's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One in spring of 2019. And then, potentially work towards the Platinum and do some of the tougher challenges and do all of the DLC, because all of that should come out at the same time. Especially because some of the DLC contains really hard platforming challenges. There's like a famous platforming challenge that there's one whole dungeon that's only like Celeste quality platforming challenges. Is one piece of DLC that's all combat focused.
Yeah.
I'd rather do all of that stuff on the platform I prefer.
Mm-hmm. It's me with the Xbox One. It's if I hear something is coming out on the Xbox,
right,
I would prefer to get it there, because chances are my wife will play it, I will play it, and it's the controller that I can use the most.
Yeah, especially with you guys doing game sharing. It's like 2 people can get the benefit for that same $15. And I figured that I love Hollow Knight. It's the base game, that base experience without the additional stuff, is easily one of my top 5 Metroidvanias of all time. Just flat out. And I think I didn't really understand why that is until I started playing it, until I kept peeling back the layers and finding more areas, and it's just so incredibly designed and huge and really, just to be fair, incredibly difficult. For me, that's a positive. Taking that Metroidvania design and like we were talking about, getting an upgrade and immediately saying, oh, okay, that's the 4 pins I've placed on my map. I know exactly where to go to use that skill. Now I can knock those out. I'm going to find probably 3 more giant areas on the map. And I like the difficulty. I like being able to go and fight a boss and maybe not beat it for sometimes the first 10 or 15 times, but I get a little bit and a little bit further, like I've talked about.
And you still haven't played any of the modern Demon Souls games?
Yeah, and I feel like, to me, this is the best combination of a really great Metroidvania and that design ethos of a Souls game.
The difficulty spike, the difficulty level kind of thing.
Right, but softened a little bit, at least in the base game. Because imagine if in one of the Souls games, if you got to a boss, but there was a save point 5 rooms before, and you could always respawn there and kind of keep banging your head on the boss. I know some of the later Souls games did opening shortcuts and stuff like that.
They do a very good job of that in pretty much anything past Demon Souls.
Right.
They do a very good job of actually putting... Sometimes they are very hidden, but they still do usually have that stuff in there. But, I mean, no, the game sounds incredible, and it's one of those things where it's like, do I have the time to play this to try and squeeze it in the next 2.5 months, 3 months, to get it onto that Game of the Year list?
So here's what I would recommend. It's guaranteed to be on my Game of the Year list this year, so it more than likely won't next year. I would recommend... So they just came out with the last piece of DLC, and it's free. It's called Godmaster, I think. They changed the name at some point, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
The great thing about this DLC is, for people like us that haven't played it before this stuff comes out, you're just going to kind of do some of it while you're playing, because they've integrated it into the base map. It's not like, go over here and there'll be a bench and it'll say, do you want to start this DLC? And then you get to go off. It's not like Fallout 3 where it's like, would you like to fast travel to Pittsburgh? It's like, okay, well, that's the DLC, clearly.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a better experience now that we have all of it sort of baked in. And I made the mistake at looking at... So what I wanted was, I wanted a checklist for everything you could find in the game. Because I wanted to go through... You can collect, I don't think this is a spoiler, but I think you can collect 36 or 38 relics, which are equipable skills on your character, and they take up a set number of relic slots. Somewhere between 1 and 3, so you're sort of always mixing and matching these skills depending on what you want to do. It's a really cool system. And I mainly wanted a checklist to say, here's all the ones I've gotten. I don't necessarily need to know where the rest of them are, but I want to start checking stuff off a checklist to see how close I am to some of this stuff. And I stumbled on the subreddit, and apparently the newest DLC needs a little bit of TLC, because apparently it's like when a brand new expansion for Binding of Isaac comes out. It's like, this is really cool. It's way too mean. You guys made it difficult in the wrong way, and it sounds like that stuff hasn't been smoothed over a little bit like some of the previous DLC is. So I feel like when we get it on PS4 and Xbox One in spring...
Hopefully that will incorporate any additional balance tweaks.
Yeah, the whole experience will be smoothed over, because they they buffed and debuffed some bosses in the base game as other DLC packs came out. So I'm hoping they do that by that point, and then that'll be like the definitive version of that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, Hollow Knight is so good. It does everything it does very, very well, and like we've been talking about, if I die on a boss, it's my fault 100% of the time. And that never stops feeling both frustrating and really satisfying.
Yeah. We've talked about it before. That's one of the reasons I love the Souls games, is because when you do that and you execute just right,
yep,
that's when things just perfect.
Right, yeah, like it just, because you have gotten better at the game and better than that boss is, and that never stops feeling great. Like, I had to beat my head against the final boss because it was it's a lengthier fight with a bunch of different phases, and it does the thing that I like that bosses do, where you fight it has a couple of basic attacks, and then the phase switches. It has those attacks plus another set, and then another set, and another set. So, like, when you're finally finishing the boss off, there's just so much you're doing, and dodging, and attacking, and parrying, and it's just... Hollow Knight's really great. Hollow Knight's good enough that I finished it, and I'm excited to play through it again in 6 months.
Yeah.
On another platform.
It's the best thing you can say about a game when it comes out with a window of exclusivity like that. It's like, that looks great. I'll play it when it comes to my platform.
Yep. I will happily start all the way back over with no skills and no health and all of that, and enjoy it all over again.
Yeah. It sounds like an amazing game. It does sound like it's going to... And again, hearing the general consensus for this game, it sounds like it's going to be one of those games that is on everybody's top 10 list.
Yep. Yeah, because I don't think it came out of early access on PC this year. I think that was late last year. But it did come on Switch this year, which to me counts for top 10.
Yeah.
But because I played it this year, it'll probably count for top 10 for you next year, but not for me, because I don't want to put something on 2 years in a row. Unless it's really good. But then I'm right.
I'm sorry, Dead Cells came out on everything all at once this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest benefits, is that's another game I have to get back to, which has not received any patches, which is not great. But yeah, I gotta get back to that. I'm sorry. Next game I played is Alphabear 2. The surprising sequel to a mobile game that I didn't really think needed a sequel. Alphabear, the original Alphabear was really good. It was basically you're spelling out words from tiles on a map, but the tiles are always surrounding this bear that's ever growing on the playing field, and you're just sort of basically seeing, Scrabble style, see how much you can get, words that are worth a lot of points, and you get a bonus depending on how big you can make one single bear. And they put out another one that has a whole bunch of levels and a lot more content, and it's free, and that's really great.
If only I had time for another mobile game. I played 2, and they take up every ounce of my time when it comes to mobile games.
Yeah, I've been playing this a lot, like as I'm going to bed, because especially if I wake up earlier than everyone, it's a good thing to kind of stretch your brain a little bit in the morning. Like, all right, I'm gonna build some of these cool words, and I'm gonna clear out some levels. The only thing, I didn't play a ton of the first one, because I think it came out for me in a year like 2018, where it's like, I can't do another mobile game, guys. So I don't know if they had timed levels like this one does. I don't mind the time levels too much, but it's kind of antithetic to what I want in like a word building puzzle game. I want to look at the board and start saying, like, all right, let me start sounding out some of these words. All right, can I put it like an ED on the end of that word? All right, that gets me even more points. Can I make this word plural. All right, that's, putting a time limit on it feels like it's a little bit opposed to what the game is.
But yeah, a little counterintuitive. It's almost like putting dialogue options in your Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, which will hopefully turn out okay. All right, last but not least, Destiny 2 Forsaken came out this past week.
Hold on, I brought my pillow just for this moment.
Okay, have a good nap. I saved this for last because I know there's a lot of Destiny 2 haters out. This is the last game I'm going to talk about, so feel free to scoot right past this if you don't want. The long and the short of Forsaken is, if you don't like Destiny, it's not going to fix Destiny for you.
So it's the same as the OG big Destiny
the
Season
Taken
2,
King.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whereas if you like Destiny, it's more Destiny.
Yep.
If you don't like Destiny, it's more Destiny.
It very much is Destiny 2's Taken King, where it's like, we've built this base on, now we're just going to go crazy building on top of it, and we're just going to give you more of what we do right and more of what Destiny does right. Shout out to Musum. I've been playing with Musum a lot lately on PS4.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way.
No, you sent a whole bunch of messages, and I told Musum, because you were like, oh, just check Twitter in a little bit, and I was like, I almost think Moon bought Destiny 2 because of his messages, but I know that's an impossibility.
Yep.
Because it's so expensive to get into nowadays. So I've been playing a lot with Musum, and we've been trying out a lot of the different modes, which has been really great. Forsaken starts off with a bang, but that's in poor taste now.
Oh, poor Cade. What a shame.
Yeah. It starts off with the prison break missions, which are really good. I was watching Dado, my favorite Destiny YouTuber, talk about some of the stuff from Forsaken today, and I think he nailed it on the head, that Destiny is at its best when you are very, very tiny in a very big environment.
Oh yeah, that's always been the best thing about Destiny. The final mission in Destiny 2 with the huge spaceship and you're this tiny little thing crawling along it.
Yeah.
The Strike playlist where you're in the Vexus thing, where you're going down that weird inverted pyramid or whatever it is.
Yeah, the Pyramidion. Yeah.
That is such an amazing level. That's so great in that game. Destiny 1, the exact same thing.
And I think where Destiny 2 succeeds immediately is, one, you get to fight alongside Cade for like 2 missions back to back in the prison break. 2, you get to see the inside of the Prison of Elders, which was part of the House of Wolves expansion from the first one. You get to go and stop this prison break. So you're fighting through this prison as cells are opening up, and there's like 3 or 4 fights happening above you on different levels of the prison. Like, there are some points where you hear Cade off in the distance counting, famously in the lore, he's always counting how many enemies he's killing as he's doing it. You see him 3 tiers up fighting with some cabal and counting off how many enemies he's killing. That stuff does what Destiny does so well. It puts you into this chaotic environment and has you fight to some point, and then gives you a cool cutscene, and then you sort of fight to something else, or you fight to escape. The amount of cutscenes that we haven't seen as part of the trailers has been really good. So
they've done a pretty good job of not spoiling stuff.
Yeah, I feel like they did a good job of showing a lot of the cutscenes, especially the now famous interaction between Zavala and Ikora after Cade has passed, which I am hoping that they're setting up the next year of Destiny, because if they continue this storyline of the Vanguard being fractured, I think that could lead really interesting places. And that's not a spoiler for anyone that's listening, but it's been sort of leading up to it in the first year of Destiny 2. Anyway,
they were pretty fractured at the start of Destiny 2. After everything fell, it was a big fight between all of them.
And with the events of Forsaken, that fracture is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think, to me, as someone who enjoys the lore of Destiny 2, that's really exciting, because what happens when the foundation of the Guardians, one Vanguard is gone, the Hunter Vanguard, and then the other two cannot seem to come to, we saw this in vanilla Destiny 2, can't come to an agreement on anything.
Yeah.
And if they have Cade, which is surprisingly the voice of reason on some stuff.
And he was the one that kind of got them to whip them both into shape.
Yep.
Like, he was the reason those two actually worked together in vanilla Destiny 2.
Yep.
Like, he's the reason that those two stopped their bickering and started working together to
started
a bigger
fixing
goal.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that he's gone, where does that leave the Vanguard and the Guardians overall? I think those are really interesting questions for Bungie to chase down. I really hope they do.
Really quick, I do hope they do reintroduce a new Vanguard, like a new Vanguard to join that trio.
I think they will, and I have my eyes on who I think it might be, but I haven't finished the DLC yet, so which is a positive in the history of Destiny DLCs. But I
hope they just introduce Peter Dinklage as a new character.
God, that'd be so good.
Because it'd be such a good troll move to do to everybody as well.
Yeah, I think people might not be realizing that there's a hunter we have met in Destiny 2 that could potentially fill that role.
In Destiny 2 specifically.
Yeah. But I won't really spoil it, because maybe not everybody's played all of Destiny 2. From what I've seen so far, they haven't introduced a new Hunter Vanguard, so I'm not. But again, I haven't finished the DLC yet.
It's not the lady from the weird settlement, is it? The one with the hawk.
No, she's not a Guardian.
She's not a Guardian.
She's just a regular human. Yeah, it's Hawthorne. So what I think one of the best things that Forsaken does is you get 2 back-to-back missions for the jailbreak. Once that's done, you get 1 or 2 missions that introduce, sort of reintroduce the Barons. So there's the this new faction of enemies called the Scorn, and basically they are fallen that have died and have been resurrected. And
are really, really sarcastic.
I wish. It's the positive and the negative of introducing a new enemy type into Destiny, is that they're having a hard time introducing a brand new one.
Yeah.
So the Scorn behave sort of 50% similarly to the Fallen, and then there's a bunch of new enemy types and they act differently. But it feels very much like where the Taken in Destiny 1 were sort of like, yeah, it's all the races, but they behave a little differently. This one is, yes, the Fallen with a little bit of a twist on it. It's not inherently bad, but I really want to...
It's nothing new.
Yeah, it's not entirely new.
Yeah, it's not 100% new.
Right, it's not like when you started Destiny 1, and obviously they can't recapture this... They obviously can't recapture the spirit of Destiny 1 again, which continues to be Destiny 2's problem, because you can't rediscover the universe again.
Yeah. Like, when I played Destiny 1, one of my favorite moments in that was getting to Mars for the first time, and seeing those huge Centaurian dudes and be like, who are these? Right. Where did they come from? This is the first time I've seen them. This is incredible.
Yeah, and like one of my favorite parts of Destiny 1 is you're fighting the Fallen and you're fighting the Hive for so long, and then you run into Venus and you run into the Vex, and you're like, well, now I don't even know what's going on. I'm fighting space robots now? Like, and
then the exact same thing happens with the Cabal on Mars. It's like it's whole new races, and it's really, really interesting. And then obviously the DLC with now they're slightly different shaders.
Yeah, now they're smoky. Like it made a lot of sense in Destiny 1 for the Taken to come in, because they were obviously working with tools in an environment that were prohibitive.
Less than optimal.
Yeah, but for Destiny 2, I would really like to see them pull away from it's the Fallen but resurrected, so they're similar but they're different. Like I would really love to see them sort of come together and pull out some brand new stuff. So you get introduced to the Barons, and they do a really cool thing that I actually really like. You get planted down on the Tangled Shore, which is the new exploration area, and it's just outside the reef from Destiny 1, that purple town.
Yeah. It's
like this lawless zone outside there. And once you meet the new NPC, the spider, who's actually really cool, they sort of almost treat it like a Mega Man game, where he's like, all right, you got to take out 8 of the Barons. Here's 6 of them. Here's 6 missions on your map. Do whatever you want. Once you finish those, you can go finish off the campaign. And at that point, you're let loose on the map with everything available and these 6 missions to go take down 6 Barons. They level your power level up to the soft cap of 500 fairly quickly. So at that point, you can just kind of do them in whatever order sounds cool.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I really like that, because in previous DLCs, it has been, you can't really explore this planet until you finish all the missions. That's sort of why we made it 2 hours. But to get to the point where you can pick these Barons, for me, was about 2 hours already. And then to dump you in this exploration zone where you can go do public missions, side quests, bounties, all that stuff is available immediately. So a lot of my time was spent picking up bounties from some of the new NPCs and going about and like exploring the new exploration zone, and every once in a while going back and doing another one of the side missions. And each one of those side missions was radically different from another. Each of them, they all had something specific. Like, here's the Mad Bomber, the biker, this one is like resurrecting Hive and bringing them over to the Scorn side. So each one of those missions was fairly lengthy and ended up in a boss battle that was unique to that specific Baron.
It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, like it's all really good, and the fact that they didn't lock you out of the Forgotten Shore until you did all this stuff, march one through another, felt really great. And even when I finished all of them and they said, all right, go do this mission, and that should, it's clearly the end of the story campaign. I didn't even need to do that right away. It was just like, go over to this mission marker and accept it, like, whenever you want. You can go play more Gambit if you want, which I have been. So, the other part of what I really liked is I finished the campaign. I'm not going to spoil any of it. I will say, number one, from a lore standpoint, there's a lot of really cool and really important stuff that happened. 2, that campaign and the final boss was way different than what we've played before in a really great way, and I would desperately want to see them do that stuff way more often.
Yeah.
I liked how they ended the DLC or the story stuff from a story standpoint. I really, really love, and oh God, this whole DLC is heartbreaking. I really love that after you finish the jailbreak mission and all that story stuff happens, you can go back to every NPC in the solar system and talk to them, and they will have new dialogue, new fully voiced dialogue.
Based around the events.
Yeah, like with their reactions of what went down. And on top of that, they all have more stuff, and there's more missions once you finish the main meat of the story.
That's pretty great.
That's a really great touch. And then the stuff I finished this this morning, Cade famously had his handgun Ace of Spades, and this isn't really a spoiler because they showed it pretty early. You get a mission at the end to kind of cleanse the gun and reclaim it as your own. And that whole storyline is heartbreaking. Like, the amount of lore they put in the game for that stuff, which we'll get to in a minute, and then the way that some of Cade's stuff resolved, and then some of the people in the tower resolved with that stuff is just... For me, it's been the first storyline stuff where Bungie has put the need for comic relief aside and just told a serious and sad story. And
good. It's about time.
Exactly. Like, it's... I don't always mind goofy fun Destiny if it's well balanced with serious time Destiny. And it's really nice to see them just tell a serious and sad story that honestly never really got better. You know, like, there's a fallout from these events that we're not going to know for a while, but everyone's kind of bummed and pissed about what happened. And that's great. It's not like you finished the DLC and everybody won.
It is a resolution.
Yeah, like, nobody won. And that's okay. The other quest it gives you is, and I still haven't finished this yet, I haven't even unlocked the other exploration zone that is way bigger than the first one they give you. So, what I really love is Destiny has always had this problem of, you go to the area, you finish the DLC, and it screeches the brakes to a halt and says,
"Yep,
okay, that's the DLC. Like, you spent 2 or 3 hours, that's great." Like, I finished the DLC, and I have this whole other thing to go do that's this big mystery. Number one, the mystery is how to get into it, and number two is, like, what am I even going to find in there? Because you get a little bit of a hint of it at the end of the storyline stuff, but, like, I am chomping at the bit to get in this other thing to continue doing what I was doing, and that's so important in Destiny is don't just, like, have a hard break and say, story missions are done, go do the strikes.
Don't do the drip feed thing where here's 2 morsels of lore. We'll see you in 6 months for the next DLC. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like, you finish the story, do you want to get in this place? It seems mysterious. And it's like, it does. Yeah, I want to get in there. So that's a huge improvement for them overall. I think one of the things, I was talking to Musum about this yesterday, one of the things that, you know, it obviously hasn't been out a week yet, so I haven't seen nearly everything. Yeah. Because I'm really trying not to race through it. I'm trying to, like, do a little bit of everything as I can. Yeah, you're trying not to get the Destiny ban out super quick as well. Which... Yeah. Part of what makes me, on a first impression with Forsaken and first impression with Destiny 2 Year 2, that makes me feel more positive than I have about Destiny in a really long time, is when you get into Forsaken and you sort of, you know, like, you get the Mega Man style missions. Yeah. It almost feels like there's too much to do, because Zavala's telling you can do the Nightfall, and you can do the Strikes, and you can do these 2 PvP playlists, and hey, there's Gambit, and there's a whole new rank for that, and bounties, and patrols, and, like, there's this overwhelming mountain of stuff to do. Yeah. And I feel like I feel like that's a positive, because what I'm hoping will happen is once the main content for Forsaken gets wrapped up, and I'm sort of in the week-to-week and day-to-day habit of it. Within the grind. Yeah, like, once I'm in the grind, there will be enough to do. It won't just be, all right, well, I'm going to play Strikes for a whole bunch to get to rank blah to get this thing. Yeah. I feel like, especially with how they've redone milestones, which I won't get into because that's getting into too much inside baseball, and we've been recording for a while. I feel like once I finish the Forsaken stuff and, like, that level of content sort of gets peeled away and I finish all of it, because I'm still not really ready to do the raids from a time standpoint. So that part of Forsaken
will be me watching streamers play it, and sort of that amount of content is peeled off of the game. I feel like I have a pretty incredible amount of content throughout the 3 resets every week. Content resets daily, every 4 days, and every 7 days.
Yep.
That makes me feel better about, at least until the next, the first annual pass piece of DLC launches winter this year, whenever that's going to be. I feel better about playing Destiny on a longer term standpoint, because there seems to be way more content too. Like I enjoyed in Destiny 1, there seems to be way more content to play a little bit of every day.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want. I want to go in, knock out a couple bounties, maybe play a PvP match or two, and then kind of say, all right, I'm done. I played like an hour and a half, and then I'm good. I can move on to something else to play today.
Yeah.
I do have to say I'm really, really enjoying Gambit. I talked about that last week for the preview. It's really up my alley. Musim and I have played a couple of hours straight of that yesterday.
Yeah, I saw you were playing it, and I thought, oh, that'd be interesting. I started Spider-Man.
Yeah.
About 2 hours after that.
Yeah.
Like, they're still they're still playing Gambit.
Yeah, like it. I think one of the positives, a positive and negative of it is it's best of 3. So matches can be a little bit long, but I feel like that's a positive, because a lot of times PvP matches are over in 5 to 8 minutes. A strike, once you know it, 10 to 12 minutes. And we've gotten into Gambit matches that have been 20, 25, 30 minutes if we go to the 3rd round. And there's really great stuff. Like, you can invade the other player's map, and if you kill them while they're primeval, the big boss at the end of the round is out, killing them heals their primeval. So, like, if you're not doing super well, wait until they get the boss to 50%, invade, kill a bunch of them, their boss is back up to 100%, and you bought yourself a bunch of time. Like,
oh wow,
there's so much in it with the PvP and the PvE sort of smushing together that is, it's really great, and I'm glad I'm enjoying it as much as I thought I was going to. 2 real quick things to wrap up here, because this is probably like the most inside of Inside Baseball. They added collections and triumphs to the game. So collections is probably the easiest thing to explain. It's now on your main menu. It's like clan, character, inventory, system. Challenges and triumphs are the 2 new options in there. Collection is basically, since the beginning of Warmind, everything you have picked up in the game ever, you can pull that back out of your collection and pop it in your inventory.
That's cool.
It's great. The only thing you can't pull out right now are items that have random rolls on them. The only stuff that has random rolls is stuff that's dropping in Forsaken. So you're sort of getting it now anyway, so I don't think that's too big of a deal. That includes exotics, purples, blues, greens, shaders, emblems, everything you've picked up that would mean anything, you can pull out of there. I think that's a huge improvement.
Oh yeah.
The other improvement is triumphs, and basically those are very long-term, like multiple year tracking. They're basically in-game achievements, and you're going to be tracking them season over season and year over year. Like, I came in and I had, I think it was like 80 triumphs I had completed, because I'd done X number of strikes, and I'd gotten these medals in PvP, and done this stuff in the story, and I've done all this stuff. But what I like is now I have all these mini challenges to go do, like complete all of the heroic adventures on Earth. That'll get me another triumph. Okay, I can do that over time. Like, go beat the raid, and go beat the raid on Prestige. Those are 2 other challenges. Go play X number of matches in Gambit. There's one for like completing 250 strikes. That's just going to happen over months and years.
Yeah.
And once you do basically everything of one category, which is going to be incredibly hard to do, you'll get, like they did with achievements in World of Warcraft, you'll get a character title. So it will show up under your name when you're wandering around out in the world.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like it because they took the great stuff that Blizzard did with achievements in World of Warcraft that encourages you to play a ton of the content in a really deep way over an incredibly long period of time, and then rewards you with something that, for me, gives you a cool achievement of like, I finished this entire category, and you can sort of show to other people like, hey man, like I play this thing a lot. It's probably too much because I have a name under my name.
Hey, my priest in WoW still has my black warbear or wherever it is.
Yeah.
For getting the For the Horde achievement.
Right. Yeah, one of those like super long ones.
For killing every leader in every Alliance city.
Right.
Like going to the city and killing the leader there.
And those are great. Like that's the sort of stuff I want to do, where it's like some of them I look at and I go, I'm probably not going to do that because it's like raiding focused or it's something else.
You say that now.
Well, I'm hoping to raid at some point, but it's...
I mean, going for these things that are wildly out of your reach at the moment.
Right.
Give it about 6 months and you'll be like, I'm close, I can get it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, that's great because they have all these chases in game for me now, but it's also like, if someone wants to spend all their time invading the other person's map in Gambit, they have a whole set of challenges just for that, so they can get rewarded.
Yeah.
With all these little... It's really cool, and that's all that stuff that Destiny desperately needed to have these daily and weekly and monthly and yearly and season over season chases, and them finally putting those in. Too late for anybody... Too late for the majority of Destiny 2 players, to be fair.
Yeah.
But just in time enough for people like me that's still playing Destiny 2, I feel like they just, at a minimum, extended my playtime by like another year. Because they have all this cool stuff that's in there for me to play a little bit regularly for these long-term chases. And that's really what I think, if you're still playing Destiny 2, that's what we needed, and it came at the right time.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, good on them. They seem to have got it right again. It's a shame they seem to have done it again at the wrong point.
Right. And I think Vicarious Visions and High Moon Studios need to get a lot of respect too. Just like with Warmind, they also all three studios worked on Forsaken, and I feel like the three of them with their powers combined have finally gotten into a really great rhythm, and I'm hoping that's what resulted in so many different features and so many different, like, Gambit and story and raid, like, all this different stuff, the quality and the quantity of it, I'm hoping that's what led to that.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But I that's sort of my impressions for Forsaken here. To be honest, I probably won't talk about Destiny 2 this deep, probably until the Black Armory comes out, which is the first annual pass content later this year. Because a lot of it is going to be, I'm going to open up the new area and I'm going to do my thing in there, but a lot of that's sort of getting into endgame and inside baseball stuff, and we're not really a Destiny podcast, so I won't belabor it. But Forsaken seems really good. First week feels really great. The base level content of Forsaken felt good. Wasn't over in an hour and a half and 2 hours. I think it took me 6 to 8 hours, and that in and of itself is a huge step forward. So but like I said, if you didn't like Destiny or Destiny 2, or you're still burnt out on it, Forsaken's not going to fix it. It's like another expansion coming out for Diablo 3. If you don't like Diablo 3.
Diablo 3. Then
It's not going to suddenly be Overwatch, and you're like, all right, yeah, I love Overwatch. So, it's $40, so spend appropriately to your level of putting up with Destiny 2. Is probably what I'm saying. But that's all I've been playing, so let's take a break. Let's talk releases for the week of September 10th, 2018. Dust and Elysian Tale comes out on the Switch.
Go buy that game. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like if that's probably on the lower end of my my top 10 Metroidvanias, but it's a really great list of Metroidvanias to be in. It's an outstanding game. I can't recommend it enough. NBA 2K19 comes out for PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One.
It's a 2K NBA game, which by all accounts are the best NBA games you can get.
Yeah.
So, if you're in, you're in.
I'm so not a sports guy, so I'm just sort of checking the list here.
I love the sports games. I love sports in general.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't have the time to watch every sport I'm interested in. I can't watch every baseball game. I can't watch every football game. I barely get the time to watch the 3 minutes of my soccer team highlights.
Right.
So,
well, and then on top of that, playing a game that if you really want to get into it is going to last you a significant amount of time.
Yep.
Speaking of a significant amount of time, Frozen Synapse 2 comes out for PC, Linux, and OS X.
Nope.
I tried that first game, and I am real bad at it, and I thought, do I want to invest the time in this incredible game to get better at it? And the answer was, not right now.
Not in 2018.
Yeah.
Year of game.
And then they're coming out with a sequel, which is just sort of like, I can't do that, I'm sorry. NHL 19 comes out on PS4 and Xbox One. Pretty much copy and paste what we just said about the NBA version. The game I'm super excited for this year, and I legitimately keep forgetting he's coming out. Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes out on Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
Oh boy. And from the scuttlebutt, I tend to go media blackout on most games.
Yeah.
I have not played the second Tomb Raider game yet.
It's really good.
We own it, I just haven't played it yet.
Haven't made it there yet.
Say hello to... go through the last 100 episodes, folks, and see if you can name the 300 games I have installed. I probably mentioned them all.
Yeah.
I have it installed, I haven't played it. From everything I'm hearing, like the very little I've heard about this game, it seems like it is another giant leap for this franchise. Like,
seems like
sounding like it's great.
Yeah.
So
I'm very excited
to play the next one.
Yeah, I'm excited to play this probably summer of next year.
Yeah.
Or whenever it goes on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, that's true.
Bastion comes out on the Switch.
Okay, it made sense.
Yeah, Transistor is going to come out on the Switch in a little bit too, later this year, early next year. I feel like I might pick that up because I never finished that.
I never even played it.
I would be curious to see how someone would respond to Bastion playing it for the first time in 2018, because I feel like either it has aged incredibly well and it's still a really great game, or it just feels ancient.
Yeah.
There's no real in between.
Well, I think the thing with that is it's a very basic video game concept, which is it's a third-person isometric, basically a combat game.
Yeah.
It's got a very distinct art style, which is going to help it age, and it still has that narrator, which hasn't been done since.
That's true. Except in Transistor.
Well, yeah, except for that.
Yeah.
Well, so I think it's going to hold up still. Again, let's talk about games I have installed. I have the HD version of that installed on my Xbox One.
Yeah. Great game.
Yes.
Wasteland 2 Director's Cut comes out on the Switch. That seems like a good platform for that.
Yeah, that seems like the platform for it. Because
Yeah.
if you want a game that's going to take you, I don't know, maybe 100 to 200 hours to get everything you can out of it.
Yeah. Nintendo Labo Vehicle Kit comes out for the Switch. This is their next cardboard set.
I love this stuff. I
really wish my kid was older, as I feel like that would be a good excuse for me to buy it and then, quote unquote, help her build them and then play with them myself when she goes to bed.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition HD comes out for PS4 and Xbox One and Switch a little bit later this year.
I saw people talking about this in the Discord. Is this the mobile version?
Yes. This is the mobile game. They sort of cleaned it up a little bit, and instead of how the mobile one is basically, you got the base game for free, and then you bought additional episodes for, X amount of dollars. This is $30. I think for the first week it's like 50% off. And it's just...
Gee, I wonder why.
They just brought it over here, and there's no, microtransactions in it. I'll be picking this up because Final Fantasy 15 runs like a friggin' dog on consoles. And I really like how I really like the approach they took for Pocket Edition. I like that they kept all the voice acting. I like the art style. Obviously, that's going to be the big breaking point for everybody, and I totally understand. And I like that they changed the exploration and the battle system. I think it's a really cool game, and I'm glad that they are giving more people the chance to play it on more stuff, especially for Switch. That seems like a slam dunk. I'm also really laughing at a lot of crybabies being like, I don't know why you'd pick this up when the real Final Fantasy 15, I'm doing my Jim Sterling, when the real Final Fantasy 15 is on your console. They're different games based on the same game.
And some people will play the same game 15,000 times. Persona 4 Golden.
God, I would buy that so fast on PS4. Yuri Lowenthal was in Persona 4, by the way.
No joke. Like, I'm not kidding. If I could get Persona 3 or Persona 4 on... I know it's never going to come to the Xbox. If I could get those things on like the Xbox or the PlayStation 4, I might be tempted to pick them up again and play through the whole things again. I mean, P3P is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time.
Yeah. You and me on the P3P train.
You recommended that, and I picked it up based on your recommendation, and that thing got me through flights to America and back again, and many more hours since.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised they haven't come out. They're remaking and remastering Catherine before they put Persona 4 Golden on PS4. That, to me, that sounds backwards. Because I feel like you tell everyone that Persona 4 is coming to PS4, you've just sold like 2 million copies.
Charlie Kun needs to make a comeback.
Charlie Toon is coming back. I forgot about that. Oh, man. All right, let's move on to news stories. Remember when Nintendo said that the Switch was going to be supporting cloud saves as part of their whole Nintendo Online thing?
Yep. Hashtag read the small print. Hashtag only certain games.
Yeah. Cloud support asterisk. On the surface, I understand what they're saying. They're saying that they don't want cheating and like rolling back of saves to become prevalent. But then they gave such a bad example. They're saying like, well, Splatoon 2 doesn't support saves because if you'd be able to revert your save, you'd be able to revert to a higher online multiplayer ranking. And I thought...
That's the opposite of what people do.
Well, to me, if people can do that with a local save on a multiplayer game, you have designed the online infrastructure of your multiplayer game incorrectly. I shouldn't be surprised, but...
It's Nintendo.
Yeah, but like, the onus of error is on how you created Splatoon 2 rather than... well, cloud saves are going to destroy the leaderboards. It's like, yeah, because you didn't give it online server. Like, the records aren't in an online, they're on the local. You don't, we learned that 25 years ago.
Yep. But, and not only that, but, and I realize I am probably a massive minority when I say this, especially considering how much I love achievements. But who cares about online leaderboards in this day and age?
Yeah.
Especially in a shooter.
Yeah.
Geometry Wars,
Sure.
this kind of game, the score chasey kind of games, yes, those leaderboards need to be solid as a rock, and they're still going to get broken open anyway because there are cheaters on every single platform.
And like, I care about them in something like Destiny 2, but that's from a match-to-match standpoint. They did a great thing where it's like, you're not competing against everybody else for first place in the season. You're like ranking up your rankings. I don't know. And then the disappointing thing too is like there are 2 third-party titles that really suck that don't support it: Dark Souls Remastered and Dead Cells. That sucks. Like,
yeah.
Also, why?
What reason do you have for those, Nintendo? Come on.
Right. And it might not even be Nintendo. It might be the individual developers for that saying either we can't or we don't want to or it's too much work. You know, some games still don't support Steam cloud saves. Like Mr. Shifty, I heard, doesn't. I'm like, that's a brand new game. Why not?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Grumble.
Yeah.
But a great news story. I didn't realize this was happening last week, or we would have talked about it in releases. But the Microsoft has released the Xbox Adaptive Controller. Is now out and available to be used on both Xbox One and PC, and is still just $100.
Yep.
So
great.
That is good all around. I feel like we've talked about that enough that we need to talk about it more. But 2 thumbs up, Microsoft.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm number one, Gersman had it nailed down when he said that would make it an amazing dive kick controller.
Great. Yep. Great.
Perfect use for that controller. It's 2 huge buttons, problem solved.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted to pick it up just because the thing looks gorgeous.
It does, yeah.
But also, it'd be really good to have that plugged in and use it as like throttle and stuff like that for Elite Dangerous, like throttle up and throttle down.
Oh,
toggles,
cool. Yeah.
And then have it on the floor and see if it could work in conjunction with my actual controller.
Interesting.
So that I could get an additional 2 buttons for a game that has literally like 7,000 button combinations.
That'd be cool. That'd be interesting.
I'll pick up a HOTAS and then plug it into that and then use that at the same time.
There you go.
Oh no.
Now you have like an aviation seat and taking over a spare bedroom. Yeah. And last but not least here, like we called it, classic Bally / Williams pinball tables are coming to Pinball FX 3.
Yep.
Starting with Medieval Madness, obviously.
Yep. And the best thing is, from the studio themselves, they are not using the Pinball FX engine.
Yes.
They are creating a new engine and using new physics models to use with the new old tables.
Hell yeah. And they're also doing the same thing that Farsight Studio was doing. It was breaking the table down and laser scanning them so they get the height right on all the bumpers and they get the whole thing correct. So I feel like I am more than happy to buy Medieval Madness again because I know exactly how that game felt in the pinball collection. I'm very curious and very hopeful that that feels the same over here, because if it does, Pinball FX 3 is free, and each one of the tables they've released so far have been very reasonably priced.
Yep, they always are.
Yep.
Like in general, those guys do such great sets.
Yeah.
Of like tables and stuff like that. So if they can get the pricing right on this, like they did the the Family Guy American Dad Archer and something else.
Yeah,
table. It was like $8 for the whole lot.
Yeah, $2 a table. Like it was. Yeah, it's very reasonable. I'm really hoping they nail it because I feel like the tables that are already in Pinball FX3 are good. I have problems with the physics engine. I know there's like 50-50 with people that do and don't.
But I prefer the Farsight one,
right?
But I don't have a problem with the Pinball FX one.
I'm moving. The more Pinball FX3 I play, the more I'm moving in that region. But if they can, I think the tables that are already there are good. If they can nail these tables, I think they're an unstoppable powerhouse. That's, to me, it'd be like, oh, you bought a new console? Download Pinball FX3. Here are the tables you should buy.
Yeah,
and start competing on the friends list.
This is what happens when you have people who actually understand how to do business. Farsight, learn from this.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, nope, too late for you now.
Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest things on Farside is they got behind on some of the stuff they were doing, and Scuttlebutt seems to say that they made a couple of really bad business decisions surrounding the Pinball Arcade stuff, and made a bunch of enemies. And Pinball FX 3 was there to say, like, hey guys, look at what we do. Tables are cheap.
We do the same thing.
Yep.
We've got capital to put a new engine into our existing game just for your tables.
Yep.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. No pun intended.
I think if this goes well, because it's just the Bally Williams stuff right now.
Yes.
I think if this goes well,
Stern will come over.
You've got Stern, you've got all the new developers, all the new pinball tables coming out. I mean, I like Farsight stuff, but did they ever really have those really up-to-date ones, or was it all just the classic stuff?
Yeah, it was all just the classic stuff. There were a couple of up-to-date ones, but I think some of that stuff only came to PC originally, and like it was all very expensive, and it was, I don't know. Yeah. I would, and then there's nothing stopping Pinball FX3 from having more tables of brand new original stuff that comes in. So it seems like a win all around.
I'd love to have them do like an engine swap thing where it's like, here are the Pinball FX tables, and you click a button and like it does like a star wipe over the screen, and it moves into reality mode.
It's hyper real. It's like it's in Frostbite engine.
Yes, the best engine for reality.
That'd be great. All right, that's all of our news stories, and I'm dying in here because it is 95 degrees. So we're gonna save the couple of questions we got this week for next week, and please don't forget to send us in more questions as the week goes on. You can find us and follow us everywhere on tvgp.tv, as we just said, Discord. Game Club game, 1 week left on Ori and the Blind Forest. And then,
do I have to play that? Can I not just play Spider-Man instead?
I mean, you could say, like, I played Ori and the Blind Forest a little bit, and Spider-Man, the Windows, dude, like, it's so good. Voting has basically wrapped up for the next one for patrons, because the winner has pulled out, and my brain is getting cooked at this point.
I need to go and look and see if I need to go break Jess's heart.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. Find out next Saturday. Speaking of Patreon, patreon.com/E1M1. The ones are numbers for all of our cool behind-the-scenes stuff. If you're curious about what Moon and I talk about before the show goes live, check out the weekly Outcast episode. It's sort of been turning out to be about an hour of additional content every week.
Yeah,
so
roughly translated, it's we can't shut up.
Yes, that is. We are friends and we like talking to each other, so we talk to each other a lot. I think that's at the $2 tier, but the real sweet spot is the $5 tier. Only $5 a month gets you that, and Old Dog New Flicks, and Dynamic Soundtrack, and all the other stuff that comes along with the Patreon, patreon.com/E1M1. And don't forget YouTube, Twitch, all those other places. Follow us there to let you know when we're live, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye. Twitter.
I don't have a lot of titles this week. What about you?
I have a couple.
Okay.
I said couple like I don't have like 9.
I only have 3.
It takes a Ubisoft village.
That's good.
Cheeseburger and peaches. Lighting Black Magic. But Windows Dude. Windows. The Black Cat of Technology. 61%. In poor taste. Less than optimal. Charlie Tuna needs to make a comeback. Or Charlie Tuna making a comeback.
Oh man. Tuna making a comeback. I have played it hot. I don't remember what that is. Is Cheeseburger the bear? Windows Dude, which I feel like has to be the title. 61%, and then Charlie Tuna making a comeback. I feel like Windows Dude has to be the title.
Yeah, because it's hard to explain how mind-blowing that is for someone who's been playing video games as long as I have.
Like, even seeing the GIFs of it, I was just like, oh, there's there's stuff in there. Windows, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fallen Dead Resurrected. That's good. That's a real shoots, eats, and leaves sort of thing.
Yeah, Lumina, don't tell me about no special edition hostesses, please. Thank you.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Especially considering the game it's tied to, Ace Combat 7. Not like I'm hyped or anything. Thank you. No.
All right, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 568 for September 10th, 2018. Windows, dude.
Like, seriously, it's black magic.
Like Windows, dude.
Like, yeah.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I've got to go. Bye.
Too hot. Oh, no. Sweat.
And we can stop recording.